I am an American serviceman who joined the war after Germany began unrestricted submarine warfare against our ships. I served on the fields of Flanders in France, fought in the trenches at the Battle of Argonne Forest, and saw firsthand what artillery, machine guns, and poison gas can do firsthand. Our war came to an end on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, 1918. We called it Armistice Day. Today, you know it as Veterans Day. We fought to make the world a safer place where alliances would be a thing of the past and called it the war to end all wars. But this was not to be.
I was there when the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor and brought the United States into World War II. I served on the cities and islands of the Pacific, the desert of North Africa, the mountains of Italy, the skies over Europe and Japan, and the beaches of Normandy. We all have our stories. Captain Henry Waskow, who our school is named after, was a captain in the U.S. Army, Company B, 1st Battalion, 143rd Infantry Regiment. He had the utmost respect for the soldiers who followed him into battle in Italy against the Nazi forces that still occupy the country, although Italy was officially out of the war. After a week of fighting during the Battle of San Pietro, reduced to a platoon-sized company. On the night of December 12th, shrapnel from a Jordan 88 hit him in the chest and killed him. His words, though, in his last letter home, sum up the feeling that real leaders feel. Here are Captain Waskow's words. God alone knows how I worked and slaved to make myself a worthy leader of the magnificent men, and I feel assured that my work has paid dividends in personal satisfaction. If nothing else, I felt so unworthy at times of the great trust my country had put in me, that I simply had to keep plugging to satisfy my own self that I was worthy of that trust. I have not, at the time of the writing this, done that, and I suppose I never will. We defeated Hitler and the evils that he had introduced to the German people, and the war ended in Tokyo Harbor on the deck of the USS Missouri when they signed the unconditional surrender. We fought to destroy dictators and true evil in this world, and we overcome with a spirit of determination that dwelled in all Americans.
I came to the rescue of the small country of South Korea after it was invaded by the North, supported by the communist countries who did not like our freedom and the way of life. I fought at places like Busan and pushed the communist forces all the way back toward the Chinese border, and then froze and fought to keep millions of Chinese from driving us off the peninsula. There was no clear winner, but we showed the world and the communists that we would stand beside people who desire to have freedom and democracy.
I served in the jungles of Vietnam in one of the longest wars this country has ever seen. I went and did my duty, but felt betrayed by the politicians and protesters back home who did not understand. We won every battle, but never held any territory. We fought in a country where you could not tell the enemy from your ally. When the U.S. finally began to pull out of Vietnam, we came home not to parades, but to demonstrations and people calling us names, and an entire country that seemed like it was falling apart. In the end, I fought for the same thing that all soldiers fight for, their buddies who were fighting next to them.
I was called to service once again in 1990 when another dictator thought that no one would care when he invaded his neighbor to the south. It was first known as Operation Desert Shield, and no one knew at the time how long the war would be. People were able to watch the war live in their living rooms when we began the air campaign, and shortly thereafter all of the questions about our military disappeared as we drove the forces of Saddam Hussein out of Kuwait and destroyed large parts of his army from the ground and the air. This war also had another effect. Not only did it defeat the forces of Iraq, but it brought down the Soviet Union and our major enemy of the Cold War that gave rise to more people around the world experiencing, for the first time, freedom and democracy.
I served after men without a country, but were driven by hatred of Americans. And what we stand for flew passenger jets into the World Trade Center towers in New York and the Pentagon in Washington, D.C.
The sacrifice that the Americans on board the fourth plane made in deciding to crash the plane instead of letting the terrorists win. I fight to make the world once again safe from fear and to destroy those possessed by evil that want to destroy us and those who stand with us. I have served in Iraq and Afghanistan and given these countries their freedom and a democratic government.
In this room, we have veterans who have served or are currently serving our great nation. Many of them are mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, grandparents, or aunts and uncles to our students here at New Tech. We would like to take this time and say thank you for your service and your sacrifices you have made on our behalf. I know you remain on guard, as will those who will serve after you, as Abraham Lincoln once said, to ensure that this nation, conceived in liberty, shall not perish from this earth.